Hi everybody, we're Amy and Maggie from ThinkerThemer, and we are back from Essen Spiel, our first Essen Spiel.
We are.
And we've had very little sleep because you know what's really terrible travelling halfway across the world? Jet lag.
Oh yeah, when you're going to the other side. I find that it really depends on which side of the world you're going. On the way there, it seemed fine.
You know what? We have travelled quite a bit this year.
Yeah, we have, yes.
And I feel like I've been trying to perfect this, do everything right, do that thing where you stay up as late as you can the day you arrive back so that you can get back on the time zone. And still, it just hits me when I least expect it. So the first night, good night's sleep, wake up, go to work. Great so far.
Yeah.
Get to the end of the office day, pretty tired. We go and we pick up Boston, our dog, from my sister.
Yeah.
And then I'm ready for a good night's sleep, get into bed, sleep by 10 p.m. Great. Wake up at 2:30. Haven't slept since.
That's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem.
Have not slept since.
So yeah, this is not great.
It's early in the morning, so we thought we're up anyway.
Because otherwise we will pass out halfway through this video.
Yeah, so we've got lots of games to talk about. But first, just quickly, want to say a huge thank you to everybody who came up to us at Essen Spiel to say hello.
Yeah.
It was so nice to get to know you all. As you know, we didn't expect there to be a lot of people recognizing us because we have an English channel.
Yeah, so we figured there would be a lot of people, speak obviously German and then also every other language in Europe. It's like, oh, they probably don't watch content in English.
Yeah.
But a lot of people came up and said hello, which was very surprising to us.
So nice. And people who watch also other content creators that are content creators in their own countries, and it was just so amazing to meet everybody.
Even people speaking in Spanish. So muchas gracias a todos los que vinieron a decir hola en español. Fue muy lindo poder hablar con todos ustedes.
And basically at Spiel, I just stood next to Maggie and whoever was talking in Spanish, and I'm like, maybe I'll go buy a game. Yeah. I can't understand what's going on, so I might just go buy a game. But yeah, it was so great to meet everyone. We also got to meet a lot of designers.
Yes.
And that was probably the thing that really defined the convention.
That's the key. I think that would be the main, or one of the biggest differences is there's so many board game designers that are there, not just one quick signing. They're there pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time teaching games and kind of showcasing different things that you don't really see that. I hadn't seen that in the other
You don't see that as much elsewhere. Yeah. And of course, because a lot of the games especially come out of Germany and Italy as well, a lot of designers from there. And so you're walking past and someone will be like, hey, can I teach you this game? And you look at that you find out their name and then you're like, wow,
that name is the same name on the box.
That's the designer.
Oh my goodness, this is the designer.
Of course I'm going to sit down and play this game with you.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So that was really amazing. We had a great time. It is quite different to Gen Con. In terms of size, obviously it's much, much bigger.
Yeah.
But it also has a real focus on shopping. And, we went in with a game plan about the shopping, or let's be honest, I went in there with a game plan about the shopping.
I just follow orders of where I need to be to buy the things that we need to get.
Yes. But what's different about Essen Spiel is there's a lot of pre-ordering available. And so I didn't feel as caught up in the hype and the need to kind of get to the front of lines and that type of thing.
It's a lot less stressful.
Yeah, it's a lot less stressful.
Yeah.
So a lot of these games we were able to pre-order, which is fantastic. We'll talk you through what we pre-ordered and why. But also we'll talk through some of the things that we did line up for and were lucky enough to get.
Yeah, because not everything is available for pre-order. So there were still some things that were
still some things. There was definitely still day one. I gave Maggie a screenshot of my screen and circled the things that she needed to go to in which order.
Very organized.
Yeah, we were very organized. So anyway, let's talk about some games.
All right.
I'm very excited. I'm going to start with one. Actually, this was interesting because this is a game by R&D Games. It's called The Glade. It's by Richard Breeze, who is the designer of the Keyflower series. And I'm a big fan of Keyflower.
Yeah.
And this game is funny because I saw that it was coming out at Essen Spiel and it just didn't register for me that I'd actually backed it.
Yeah, on Kickstarter, was it? Yeah. Is there a Kickstarter back?
Yeah, and I haven't been backing a lot at all. I think I've only backed a couple of things this year, which is a huge...
That is massive. That is a big
massive change. Massive change.
Yeah. Which I welcome. it's a very welcome change.
Yes. But this one I had backed, and I forgot that I put down, just because it was so long ago, I put down pick up at Essen Spiel. And so I got the email, and I was like, oh, lucky they sent out an email reminding that I'd backed it. So we went and picked up this as a collector's edition. I'm excited to get into it because we did have the opportunity to meet Richard Reeves, which is very cool. Yeah. And he was talking about how his inspiration for this game was actually a game that we both love, which is Rummikub. Or Rummy Cub, depending on where in the world you're based. And this one is adding essentially another dimension to that. Yeah. So in that you've got colour and number, and this is basically taking that abstract puzzle idea, adding in another dimension, and then giving it a forest theme. Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
We'll see how thematic it really is.
Yeah, I feel like it's not going to be super thematic. Oh, we better check inside.
Oh, yes.
We were packing our bags and we thought we'd done such a great job when we'd weighed them, and then we got to the airport and we'd made an error in that the luggage allowance in Europe was less than in the US. Yeah. And we didn't realise.
I misread that. I thought that would have said, like, this is the luggage allowance. That was the total allowance, like, amongst all of your bags as opposed to per bag.
Yeah,
so that was my bad.
We made a critical error, which was going to be incredibly expensive. And the Australian dollar right now is
so weak,
pretty much worthless against the euro. And so we had to unpack all of our bags at the airport.
The last minute panic at the airport.
The drama. Nope, there's no games in here. Safe. Yeah. This is a box that has very little extra air in it, which we appreciate. But it makes it hard to pack.
It does. Well, we did that thing of like cocooning games within games, so that's what we're hoping will. I've forgotten even what other games.
I have no idea what's in here. So
okay, I'll move on because we have a lot of games to cover. This is going to take like 20 days. Match of the Century. So this was one that I didn't
pre-order it, but it was on my most anticipated list. It's a game about a game. It's a game about the chess match. It's
the chess the musical is based on. Yes. That's all I know. All I care to know.
It's a 2-player game where you are battling head to head. It's meant to be like the successor to come on, haven't had any sleep, Watergate.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so I was very excited to try it. I didn't pick it up immediately. I wasn't sure how popular it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to sell out. So this was one of those like casual day 3 purchases, I would say. I knew that I wanted to pick it up. I don't know if Maggie's going to like it, so I was a little bit
2-player
hesitant.
Only, so we'll see who else you can play with if I'm not picking. Oh, there are more games in here.
There is another game in here. This is a little trick-taking game called Tricky Badger, and this caught our eye because, well, we love trick-taking, but also it's super cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah, and so it has, basically, you are doing trick-taking, and it says here, you're collecting and protecting wild hamsters while trying to keep them away from hungry badgers. So there are interactions between the cards, between the different animals.
Yeah, so you're essentially trying to collect, so it's kind of like set collection, but the way that you're acquiring those cards for those sets is through trick-taking, so through winning and sometimes intentionally losing tricks, because there are some cards that if you acquire them, they can kind of like, they can fight, or they can, so like it affects the sets. So that's a really interesting one as well.
Yeah, Badger. So excited to try that out. Always room for more.
Should I keep going on this side?
Yes.
So this one I was very excited about. So this was on my list, and that's Witchcraft, which is essentially a reskinning of Resist. So this is going to be a solo. This is a solo game. I much prefer this theme of essentially like witches. So you're kind of like witches who are trying to both heal people in the town or prevent them from dying if they're unwell, but also not reveal yourself. But you have this sort of conundrum where if you like if you reveal yourself, the actions that you do are more powerful, but then that witch is out of the game because obviously they've revealed themselves. So I'm very, very excited to play this one. So this one we pre-order this one?
No, because I'll tell you why. I like how you're just guessing. You have no idea what
I don't know. I can't remember.
But basically, this is just delivering now to Kickstarter backers. And I wasn't sure actually if it was going to be available to buy. This was one of the first places that I went because Resist is a game that we've heard so much good things about. And it's funny because I'm not a solo player, but I want to hear from Maggie what she thinks of Witchcraft, because Resist is a war theme, if you are not familiar with that game. And it's not really what we kind of like the world we like to play in.
It's based on a historical event, so like Spanish resistance against like these particular, I think it was like French, like I don't know the details of that.
So this theme is much better. But anyway, went straight over there to go and find it, and was very happy that they did have a few copies. Have I looked in here since? Oh my goodness. goodness, we are so tired, but so this is going to be a bit more haphazard than usual.
Let's see.
Did we
Anything
hide?
else?
Oh, we did.
We did. There you go.
Yes, I do want to talk about this game. This game is by Daniel Newman. It is Anemony.
No.
Anemony.
Oh, it's just like, don't hurt yourself. It's just like...
This is like on Nemo.
It's exactly like Nemo.
Anemony.
So don't hurt yourself.
Anemony. Anyway, it is a trick-taking game. And this one is a really obscure title. So, you know, there's the games that everybody is going to be going after. And then there is the little tiny games that were in probably just very small print runs. And this game, I don't even know how I came across this game, but I'd heard that they were going to have a small number of copies where I think at the Planta Nubo game builders desk. And they, not even the publisher, they were just, I think, helping the designer out by selling a few copies. And so, of course, you know, when we went to pick up Planta Nubo, I was like, do you have any copies of Enemy? And I did. Anemony. But this game is a trick-taking game where you're trying to take no tricks, I believe. And I don't know much about it, aside from the fact that it has the best name. And even in the rule book, they are like, well, actually, this is just numbers. It's a trick-taking game, but how could you resist the name? Anemony.
Anemony. The name is pretty fun to pronounce.
So anyway, that's very exciting.
Let's go to your side.
Okay, this is probably the heaviest game that we brought home, and one of the first places we went was to actually pick up Shipyard. And then, you know, while I was there, of course, while we were there, we also wanted to pick up Evacuation, which is somewhere here as well.
These were pre-orders, weren't they? Because I'm trying to remember.
Would you stop saying that?
It's because I'm trying to remember the places that I was like trying to like give my name and then like in a panic looking for the email, the confirmation number, because then you're like in a line.
How about I tell you which ones are pre-orders? Because this was not a pre-order. It was not available to pre-order. So Shipyard and Evacuation, we went, and these are both Vladimir Suchi's new games. Well, two of his new games. He actually had 3, I believe, at the show. But anyway, I was picking up Shipyard and Evacuation, and then they had these wooden meeples. Actually, I'll show you the wooden meeples. I remember that. So they had an extra package that you could pick up, some deluxe bits, and of course they were like, do you want the wooden components? And I was like, well, I'm here.
Yeah,
like we came all the way here. So I picked those up as well. But then they were like, well, since you're buying them both, you can also get a promo pack for the same price if you buy the bundled all in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I did that as well. Yeah. So anyway, that was an expensive booth, but I'm really excited to try Shipyard because it has multiple rondelles, and I love a rondelle. And every time I say I love a rondelle, everyone is like, Shipyard, and we haven't played it. Yeah. I like the new art much better. Yeah. I'm excited to get it to the table and see what all the fuss is about. So that is Shipyard.
Oh, exciting. And then we have Sea Dragons, but the outside cover is in Spanish, Dragones del Mar, because it is a Spanish publisher team, but everything inside, I believe it's language independent.
Yes.
So it's,
It is. It's a very abstract game where you're using polyomino shapes to place parts of your dragon on a board. You're not allowed to like overlap yourself and other rules. I'm excited to, one of the designers is Simone Luciani, which is what put it on my radar, as well as, of course, the artwork by Webison Santiago, who we both really enjoy.
I love
their artwork. And also, what was I going to say about this? This was not available for pre-order, but it is one of the first stops on day one as well, because I knew there was only 200 copies, and so, you know, there were elements of FOMO in this at this event, and this was one of them.
There you go.
And
but
they did sell out.
They did sell out, yes.
Yeah, but I'm excited to get the table. Again,
by day 2. I feel like it was pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty quick. But I'm excited to get this to the table. I think it's going to be fairly abstract again, but I do think it's going to be one that will be good for a con, because it's got that table presence of like all the dragons hanging out together. This is a very well packed box, so there was no extra space, no extra games in here.
All right.
Okay, next game.
That way or this way?
Either. There's so many.
So we got, this is actually the same publisher. So this is Nebula, which was a game that we played the very last day. I think we were just kind of like roaming around, going, let's just now actually get some time to sit down, play some demos. So we played a demo of this one, and it's quite abstract.
Well, actually, it was really hard to get a seat at the demo tables. I will say that about the con. There's a lot of demo tables, but because there's so many people, it's actually really difficult to be there at the right time to get like a spare seat. But this one actually allowed me to put our names down. And I don't think you knew this, but I'd put our names down for Sunday morning because this is a game that I thought might be too abstract for Maggie, but Rado had been talking about this game and how much him and his wife Jen had really enjoyed it. And so it was on my radar. And I do like an abstract game, and it's beautiful. Fun fact,
really
the box glows in the dark.
It does.
So the text on the front glows in the dark.
And even the mats themselves, so the board, your individual player boards, like they've got like the lines between the stars and kind of like the constellations are glow in the dark. But there's a lot of different colors, like color stones and gems as part of the things that you're kind of creating. Pretty, which you wouldn't be able to play in the dark then, because you need to be able to see the colors. But still, it's really beautiful.
It's a fun little addition for a game that is about like stars.
And in your if it's on your shelf,
Did
and you turn
have
off the
stars
light.
on your ceiling?
Yeah,
like when
as
you were
a kid.
Yeah. That's what it reminds me of.
I think I was only allowed, my mom was very we kind of need to keep all the walls very clean. And so I was allowed maybe just 2 or 3.
One constellation.
Yeah, one teeny tiny constellation. But like my best friend growing up, she had her entire ceiling was just like glow in the dark side. And I just remember every time I would sleep over, I was like, wow.
So awesome. Do people still do this? Do you do it for your kids? If you're watching, let us know. Yeah. Anyways, Nebula is a very abstract game where you're moving 3 little tokens around 3 rondelles, but you can only move them to some 5 points of movement, and wherever those 3 tokens stop is going to be the stars that you're allowed to pick up and then place on your board. And then you're trying to make constellations that meet certain public objectives as well as a private objective. That's essentially the whole game. We played the demo of it, and the game ended very abruptly because of a condition that was on the board that kind of sped up the game. So there's these black stars that are the timer in the game, and so many of those were being used that it sped up the game, and the game ended before I could achieve any of my objectives. The publisher walked over and was like, what did you think of the game? And it kind of caught me in the moment where I was just in this confusion state of I was being pretty optimal and I wasn't able to achieve my objectives. Why did the game end so quickly? And then they were like, well, actually, it doesn't end that quickly. They just kind of speed it up a little bit for the demo. And I was like, that makes perfect. Thank goodness, because I thought the game was broken.
So you can get more people, obviously, sitting through it and stuff. Yeah,
but that made more sense. I was like, oh, that's good. That, now I'm looking forward to... I
hadn't minded it as much because I thought, oh, maybe it was just brief because we had players on the table who were really
speeding it.
Yeah, using that track a lot, which you wouldn't necessarily.
But anyway, so looking forward to trying it again with the real end
This
game.
is actually a review copy, so they very kindly on that they said, that one, if you're enjoying it,
they wanted us to play it properly.
That's
the real rules.
That is fair.
Anyway, the next game is a little game called Gap, which is a kind of interesting card game. You have 4 cards in a market in front of you as well as a handful of cards. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect the cards that you want from the market by playing a card down and taking all of the same number. Or if you can't take the same number, then you play the card and you're going to be able to take the numbers that are adjacent to that number. So if you play a 1, you can take the 0 and the 2. But then you're collecting the cards, and once they come down in front of you, then it's about majority of colors that you're collecting. At the end of the game, you're going to have your count up your majority color and then subtract the color that you have the least of. But if you've got some colours that you've only got 1 of, for example, they all get added together. So you've got to be really careful to make sure that you have, as few cards as possible in the least colour, but then only one stack of that least number. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much the game. This was a review copy of this game, and I don't know. I found it really interesting. We'll play it more and talk about it more. But it was
very easy to teach. So it's one that we were able to play in the evenings when we were kind of catching up with people and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I
better
think
at a higher player count as well. So we did play it at 6, and it was much better than when we played a lower player count.
3 was one of the player counts.
But that's
anything inside. I'll
interesting. You check while I talk about Hollyoak. We need more sleep. So this is another trick-taking game. Actually, we didn't buy this at the con. We purchased this at a board game shop in Frankfurt. And which was amazing.
They had
board
such an
game
incredible selection. They even had stuff that was being released at
I can't remember
Essen.
the name of it, but there's one main board game shop in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And it is incredible. It's just, actually, it reminds me a little bit of our, like, piles of games that we have surrounding. You can't see this in
It was
frame.
like our house. It was
Like our
an
house.
incredible selection.
There were piles and piles and piles, and they were unpacking boxes and
Yeah.
desperately trying to find places to put them, just like here at home.
It wasn't big, but it was like the selection was incredible.
It was,
and how in the recency of the titles that they had was
Yeah, they had a
very
lot of
impressive.
things that we were expecting to see at Essen Spiel, and so we were very excited.
Yeah.
This is a game, though, that wasn't even on our radar, but, we were reading about it while we were there in the store, and it's a trick-taking game that is played across seasons.
Yeah,
and
so
help me here.
Yeah, so essentially what you're doing is some of the different cards have points on them, so you kind of want to win the tricks that have cards that have a lot of points in them. But also the suit essentially is a season. So you start with spring, and then in the middle, and it's a must follow. But if in the middle of that trick someone isn't able to follow, say, spring, and they play the immediate next season, then the suit changes to that now being the lead suit. And then again, if the person after can't play that, but plays the immediate next, so it's a game where the suit can shift immediately halfway through the middle of the trick. So I think that's going to be an interesting...
I think so too. It just, interesting concept, cool theme. So that is Hollyoak. I'm going to talk about Evenfall, which was kind of a hot title at the con. Lots of people were there on the first day if they hadn't pre-ordered, just to try and pick it up. I did pre-order this one because I'm very excited to try it out. The theme is not something that I'm hugely into. I think you were more into the theme
like
than
Coven
me.
of Witches again, and you're sort of what is it? You're kind of sending them out. Now I can't remember what the term is, but you're essentially sending them out. There's a little bit of like area majority, and there's a particular currency of like, I can't remember what the thing is, but then that's also what you're using as part of your battles. So, and it's kind of like it's public what the max is, but you don't necessarily know how much people are going to bid at the time of battle.
That part wasn't the part that interested me at all, actually. It was the engine building aspect of it that apparently is really something special in this game. That's what we've heard. So I'm excited to try it out. There's also a worker placement element and something to do with the cards that you're adding to your tableau and the way that then they become extra worker placement spots, and the fact that you can retire cards along the way. So I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out from a like tableau management perspective. So that is Evenfall, and I'm just looking forward to giving it a go.
I remember piecing this one together. So it's got one of those like the individual kind of player tiles.
Oh yes. Did you put anything in here when you were packing?
No, I can't remember. I don't think I did.
It took
I don't
us
think
so long to punch
I wouldn't have
everything.
gone further than that. So I think that it was actually pretty. Yeah. So this, like, I'll show you these ones. It sort of feels like a double layer board because it does.
very nice.
It is, but you're actually piecing it together. So it comes with the stickers for you to piece this together.
You put it together?
I did. I did a lot of putting everything together.
It took us hours and hours. It took us hours and hours to punch everything because we need to get rid of as much weight as possible, of course. And then also we need to put games within games. So we spent hours punching, and I stayed awake as long as I could. But then I would say in the last 25% of games, I fell asleep.
So at Gen Con, it was different.
It was
100%.
It
was 100%. It was like we got back to the hotel room the final evening, and we were like, okay, so let's just have a bit of a rest, and then we'll do all of our punching and packing. And then Amy immediately fell asleep for the rest of the evening. And so I did all of the punching and the packing. This one, you stayed there for 75%.
I did. I tried very hard, and I started early. So, the morning of the last day, got up very early and started punching because I knew I'm an extrovert and I push myself far too hard at conventions. And Maggie's the one trying to talk sense into me at all times.
I kind of try and be mindful in managing energies. My energy and yours is a bit harder to manage.
But when the adrenaline runs out at the end of the con, and I just collapse in the heat. But anyway, Planta Nubo was our number one most anticipated game on the list. And we were excited because we actually got to meet all three designers of this game, which was really cool, including Uwe Rosenberg, who, if you watch the channel, our number one game, Feast for Odin. But also a lot of games we love are designed by...
a lot of the... like solos and things like that's my favorite solo. So
yeah. So we're a big fan, and I saw out of the corner of my eye someone who looks like Uwe Rosenberg. I've only seen photos of him online, older photos, and I was like, if I go up and ask for a photo with this person and they're not Uwe Rosenberg, that's going to be super awkward.
Well,
but I
decided you just have to ask. Excuse me, are you?
Yeah, and he was in context. He was definitely at this booth, and I was like, okay, that's got to be him. So I went up and asked. Then I basically fangirled. We got a photo with him.
Yeah,
he was lovely.
Yeah.
But Planta Nubo is one that we've been hotly anticipating. Can't wait to get this to the table. And it's not even about reviewing it or anything. This is like, I feel like this is just a moment for us with this game. I'm super excited to try it out. It has a lot of elements that we like. It's got this solar punk kind of theme that Maggie loves.
Yes, you're building gardens in the sky, which is like so cool. And the winning condition is whoever can help generate the most oxygen, because it's in this kind of like post-apocalyptic sort of setting where, you know, we're now having to kind of regenerate Earth, and like apparently like trees have kind of are helping us in a way. And so I love that. And lots of polyomino and like
there's polyomino tiles, of course there is. But really excited about this. We didn't get a chance to demo it, but we saw people playing it. It looks really cool, and they've done a lot of work with the world building and the topic, because they've actually published a book about it.
There's even like a fiction, like a novel.
Yes, but not available in English yet.
It was German only, I believe.
But it will be.
All right, should we go on to the next one?
Autobahn. Bit of a story behind this one. So one of the first people who came up to introduce themselves at the con, someone came up and said, hi, like, just want to introduce myself and meet you both. And we're like, oh, thank you for coming up and saying hi. And he said, my name's Fabio Lopiano. And immediately I was like, oh my goodness, like, you're introducing yourself to us? That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Because he's the designer of many, many games, a couple of which are here. One of them is Autobahn, that's why I'm bringing it up. But also he designed games like Merv, and also...
What was the other one I played? Kalamal? I can't remember.
Kalamala, which was a game that we'd never played. It's an older Euro. And actually, after he introduced himself to us, we were walking past the Alley Cat Games booth, and they had a copy of Kalamala because it's being reskinned or redesigned.
It's like artwork
visually
revamped.
By Ian O'Toole. And they had a copy there on the table. And Fabio was like... And he's like, have you played this before? And we're like, no. And he's like, can I teach you? And you just don't get opportunities like that.
Yes.
So it's like, we would love that. And so we got to sit down and we actually played a full game of it.
We did,
and it's cool. I really am excited about, especially with the new visual design. Like, it was a tight race. Really interesting scoring conditions.
And really, like, there was a lot of interaction, but it's a lot of positive interaction, like player interaction, so that was good.
But anyway, so that's got nothing to do with Autobahn. But Autobahn is a game that we covered on Backchat when it was originally Kickstarter. It was really expensive. I think it was really expensive in general, but also with the postage to Australia. And so I held off with the Kickstarter. But I've been wanting to get our hands on it, and we were at their booth, and they kindly offered us a review copy of Autobahn. So really excited to play this. But there's some other games in here.
There's more games.
Let me have a look. So we've got two little card games. Why don't we start with For the Win? This
FTW for the win.
This also was a game that we picked up before Spiel. At the board game shop that we talked about, because we saw that it was green, and what does that mean?
I actually had seen this, and it just didn't make it into my my top 10. But it was on my, like, it had just fallen off the top 10. So For the Win is a Friedman Freeze game where it's very, very, I believe, what was it? Some Fuji Flush. So it feels like we haven't played Fuji Flush, but from people who have, this feels like a streamlined, simplified version almost of that, with a bit of a twist. So this game, very, very incredibly easy to teach and get going. You're essentially just trying to get rid of cards, usually like one at a time, to end up with the highest possible single card. And as soon as one player has only one card left, it sort of triggers the end of the round. And any additional cards, so the value of that card is your positive points. Any other cards that you're left with add them all together, and that's going to be subtracted from that. So you kind of want to be shedding cards. But the whole thing is really interesting because it's sort of like the way that you always have to be playing a card higher than the one before, or otherwise they kind of come into your pile and you're having to draw cards. So very, very simple in terms of the way that it plays. But yeah, it was really interesting. We played a 2-player count multiple times because it was the only game that we had for a while. But then we played it at, I think, 6. Yeah, so we played at the max player count. And it's a lot better because then you start sort of seeing the dynamics. So fairly simple.
It's fun. It's there's a healthy dose of luck in that game based on your starting hand of cards. Like I found if I started with a really powerful, lots of high numbers, it's pretty hard to beat someone when they've got all high numbers. So I thought there was luck in it, but I actually think the mechanic of it was really fun. So but let's talk about this one, a little game called Oh Meow Bow. Now what was cool about Essen Spiel is actually there was a lot of smaller Asian publishers, and it was really exciting to see them there. Obviously we've been to some Asian cons and we've traveled around trying to find Asian games, but it was exciting to see them showcasing like a real breadth of games actually from Korea, from Taiwan, from China. And this one is a game that a friend actually brought to our attention because they said, hey, aren't you guys always looking for 535?
I've been looking for 535.
Your whole life?
Well, not my whole life. Since Dice Tower West, essentially, this year. So since March. And it's been impossible to find. Like, it's obviously, like, you can't get it anywhere here. We were looking for it in Japan. It is published by, is it a Portland?
It is, the Portland Collective. But what's funny about it is we could actually order it online, but it becomes the quest to find it.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, you probably know what that's like. You have a game and you're like, that's going to be the game that I'm going to find in a game store and it's going to be so exciting. That's how we feel about 535. But what's interesting is a friend texted us about halfway through the con and said, have you seen Oh Meow Bow? It is by the same designer as 535, and essentially it's the same game, and he was right. So we rushed over there and we sat down and we played a demo of this, and Maggie's like, this is 535.
This is 535, yeah.
But what's really cute is, if you don't know, 535 is a shedding game where you are essentially making sets and runs in order to get rid of all of your cards. And you want to get rid of all of your cards. But in 535, the theme is like based on the seasons.
Yeah.
In this one, all of the cards are
pets.
Are little pets, and they're all different.
They're all unique.
The art is all unique on every card. There's cats and dogs. And what's really funny about this game is if you are left with cards in your hand when somebody is able to shed all of their cards, you are going to end up with poop.
Yeah, poop tokens, which are bad. You don't want to have.
You don't want
poop tokens.
Yeah. For a change, having poop is bad. But on the cards, there's a poop value.
Yeah.
And so the cards that are left in your hand are going to give you poop. And then you play until one person has 20 poop, and then the game ends, and the person with the least amount of poop is going to be the one that wins.
Yes.
I just said poop so many times.
You did.
More times than I've ever said it on the channel.
Yeah.
But Oh Meow Bow, so this really, for us...
I was very excited to find this in place.
Exciting.
Like, finally.
Because it scratches the itch of the 535.
Absolutely. I feel like, and I can't remember fully, like with 535, we also played Millionaire Nightmare.
Another game by the same designer.
Same designer. Beautiful artwork, which we picked up at Tokyo Game Market when we were in Japan. And I taught as 535, and then we realized it's not 535. It's actually quite a little bit trickier and different. This, I feel like this one came after both of those, and I feel like this one sort of took from those two and sort of streamlined it into so very excited to finally have that in my hands.
Yeah. Okay, here's the next one. So this is a game called Footprints, and this was definitely on, I think it was on my most anticipated list.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because the designers, two of the designers were also involved with the game.
Come Together.
Thank you. Which is a game that we love.
Hippie music festival.
Yeah. Which is a hippie musical game where when you place the workers out, all the workers you want to work as a collective in some ways because you get more stuff. Well,
you want to come together. Like, you want everyone to get together in all the different places. Anyways, tell us about Footprint.
Footprint is a game where you start with an asymmetric deck, and then you're going to be playing out cards to walk across this terrain. The game can be triggered through a race condition if someone kind of gets to the end of the board, or otherwise you're going to be playing out a very limited number of turns. But this game was one that it has a modular board as well, I should say. This one was definitely on my list to pick up, and we went there. But what's interesting is, as reviewers, we buy a lot of games. So yes, we spend a lot of money on games, but also responsibly, we do try to sell games because that helps us fund, buying more games. And we do have a high turnover of games like that. We often also get offered review copies of which we turn down 95% because we really want to focus on the games that we would have otherwise purchased. And this is one of those games. We were on our way to purchase it, and then we happened to meet the designers who were so lovely. They signed the inside of the lid. We got to talk to them about how much we love Come Together, and they were so lovely that they gave us a copy of Footprints. So that was really, really nice. And there's some games hiding in here.
There's more games.
There's more games. So Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard
is the first one I was lining up for.
Yes.
And it's like, get on this line, and then it's under your name, and then also make sure you pick up this other one that I wasn't able to pre-order. I'm like, okay.
That's exactly what happened because, hold on, I'll grab the other game.
Oh, yeah.
So they had 2 trick-taking games coming out at Essen Spiel, Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard and Dracula versus Van Helsing. And by the time I pre-ordered this one was sold out in the pre-order, but it had a note there saying there will be limited a number of copies for those who weren't able to pre-order it. And so that put it at the top of my list. Mandu Games was number 1 stop for Maggie. And so I had her line up while I was busy running off getting other things. But these 2 games I'm really excited about. 2 different trick-taking games. This one has art by Vincent Dutrait. This one has art by Webberson Santiago. So they're both extremely cool
art.
I keep getting them confused mechanically, but I'm really excited to get them both to the table. They both did sell out on day 1, I believe. I'm not sure if they restocked throughout the con, but I know that these were 2 of like the real hotness. People were trying to get these games. There was a line there continuously because they also had another game, Fate of... Can't remember now. Why did I even try to remember what this is? Fate of Eternities? Someone in the comments will know. But there was another game that was kind of a PvP game, but I think like an entry level, more like a gateway game that people were also just so excited to get. The Veil of Eternity?
Yeah, that rings
Veil
a bell.
of Eternity.
That rings,
Maybe. But everyone else in the line was really waiting for that as well. But we just picked up these 2 because that's what we were excited about. More trick-taking games.
Yes, and this one was actually, this is a little one. I'm just going to put that one away. Called Planta Mort, which I think is like translates to While You're Dead. Which is a very strange little, just like party.
It's too much fun for Maggie.
Yeah, I was like, this
way
is
too
just,
much fun.
This is just, so it's like, it's sort of like a cork gun, but it's like Russian roulette. Essentially, it's like a 2 halves of a game. First is trick taking, where you're essentially trying to win as many cards as possible, but the twist is if multiple, and you're kind of playing blind. So you're kind of picking one card out of your hand, playing it face down, and
playing blind, but you're playing simultaneously.
Yes, but you don't know what everyone else is going to play. So everyone just sort of like reveals at the same time.
Like in any trick taker.
No, and a trick taker you play one by one.
This
is like, but true. This is everyone at the same time. So you have no idea. You can't really strategize. So a lot of times, you could just, and this is what I would do, is just pick any card at random.
Can I talk about it because Maggie hates fun?
No, because then this is what happens. It's like if the same number is revealed, then they cancel each other out, and those cards are out of the game. But they have that thing where, like, obviously higher numbers are more valuable, except for the one which can beat a 6, but only the 6.
Yeah, and the reason why you want to collect cards in phase 1 of the game is because in phase 2 you're simply going to be drawing a deck that has one live gun with a cork in it, and the rest are
clicks.
Yes,
I click.
And so you're just going to be cycling through this deck, and basically on your turn you have to turn over one of those cards. However, if you have cards in front of you in the form of tricks that you've won in the first phase, you can spend 3 cards to skip your turn, or you can spend 1 card to reshuffle the roulette deck. And that's basically it. It's silly fun. But I do want to talk about who introduced us to this game. It was Board Game Ramblings. It was Johannes and Sunniva, and we went out for dinner together. We played this at the dinner table, and they are an absolute delight. They are just as lovely, as they are on their channel. And it's been years that we've been talking to them, and it was so lovely to be able to sit down, play a game, even if it was a little too fun for Maggie.
We played other games.
This
was like literally like on the table before we were having dinner.
Yeah, but anyway, they are lovely people, and it was fun to play a fun little game as well as other games with them. But so nice to meet people after so long.
Yeah.
Here you go.
All right, Freaky Frogs from Outaspace. So this is another Friedman Freeze game. This is a solo game, and it's kind of like pinball. So it's like pinball based. Yeah, and Friedman Freeze, we actually met Friedman Freeze.
We did.
Yeah, it was like, quick, hello, oh my goodness. I love Fridays, my favorite solo, like one of my favorite solos.
He has bright green hair.
Well, this is a
I know, it's so on brand, but I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, a lot of people, that's been a very long-standing thing. But
I didn't know that.
Now you all know, if you didn't before. So yeah, Freaky Frogs, I'm keen to check it out. One of the things is apparently that just like when you're playing pinball, there can be bad luck. So, it's acknowledged that you can have bad luck where it doesn't matter what you do, that you're going to lose that ball. But apparently there is skill as well in it. So over multiple plays, your score is going to get better and better. So keen to check that one out. It looks like, we do have other games in here. There you go.
Tinderblox is a tiny little game that is a dexterity game about building a campfire. And how are you going to build that? Well, you're going to do it with a pair of tweezers and these little blocks. And so there are going to be cards in here that dictate the type of piece that you need to place and the direction in which you need to place it.
And sometimes you need to put little things on top, like little
tiny
pieces
pieces.
of the little brown wooden block.
Sometimes you need to use your non-dominant hand to do so.
Yes.
And so this is just a tiny, cute little dexterity game. But what's interesting is we were at Alley Cat Games and they were like, have you tried our #1 best-selling game? And we're like, what could that be? Yeah. You do all these great euros. And they're like, it's this tiny little game.
It's a tiny dexterity game.
Yeah, and we're like, never seen it, never played it. And they were like, well, you have to give it a go. And they gave us this copy. And we actually got a chance to play it with some of the Joey fam one night.
Yeah.
And it was actually a real hit with the table. People were really enjoying it. Lots of laughter.
Still a bit too fun for
my
taste.
But, as with all dexterity games, it's a really cute one because it comes in this tiny box. And so it would be really easy to have it as like a warm-up game when you're at a con and that type of thing.
Take it camping.
I'm going to talk about Knarr. We've talked about Knarr on the channel before, I think. Well, definitely it was one of my most anticipated games. I've been talking about it a lot in general because I've been playing it a lot on BGA.
Yes.
And when I read the rulebook, I was like, there is something special here in the way that it plays. Like when I read it, I was like, I like the idea of this tension between building up a tableau because you're collecting cards from a market and it's going to trigger all of the cards that you have of that color, which is going to generate for you different resources. Then you need those resources to spend to get things done in the game. But what's really interesting is you also need to go to locations with your boat. And when you go out to these locations, you need to burn cards in your tableau. And so there's like this interactive effect between all of the different elements of the game. And when you play this game, it plays out like that. It's very tight. It's a race game.
Yeah.
And we've really enjoyed this. And actually, on our way to Essen Spiel, we didn't bring any games with us, which is
huge
shocking.
Mistake.
Which is shocking because we always carry games. We want to have maximum bag space on our way back. But what happened was we had all this time. We had 3 weeks before the con where we were traveling together, and then we started to get that, I wish we had a game on us. Like, it's been so long since we played a game. And so we started playing against each other on BGA, and we were playing Knarr. And so it's been really fun. So, of course, we had to pick up a copy of it from Spiel, and it was really popular. I wonder if it's sold out. I'm not sure if it's sold out, but I know a lot of people have been playing it on BGA. There's nothing in here. It's actually tightly packed box, and it's really heavy.
Yeah, it's quite solid.
Yeah, but that is Knarr.
All right, should I come over here?
Yep.
So this one was one that I didn't know much about. This is the Battle of Versailles. We met the designers there as well, and we got taught by the designers how to play it. It's based on this incredible real life historical event where I believe for the Palace of Versailles they were doing this kind of fundraiser event And so it was this like US versus France putting on a what do you call that, fashion show, so like the runway thing. And so France did the standard, classic
2.5
hours, all the kind of classic fashions that stuff. And the US just kind of came in like 36 minutes, and all this innovation in terms of like the way like the fashions themselves. First time, they brought in an African American model. First time around, an African American model had walked the French runway. So it had all these sort of innovation things and ended up kind of like winning. So this has become, so the game has become, it's using that theme, and it's using a head-to-head, so a 2-player only game where 1 player plays as the US and 1 player plays as France. Really, really cool as a concept. And
there's a lot of hand management.
Yes.
So you're basically trying to play different outfits or as well as different designers in order to try and win one of the win conditions, of which there are several. So you've got to kind of keep your eye on this designer track to make sure that the other player is not going to overtake you in terms of placing. I think it's 7 designers from memory. The French team can win.
There's like that's celebrities. So like there's celebrities that you're using. There's like designers are helping you with like different scoring. And
yes, that's right. And then the French team and the USA and the American team have different win conditions as well that are kind of quite thematic. But we're going to talk more about this game. We need to play it a lot more. But this was actually, fun fact, number 11 probably on my top 10 most anticipated. It did just miss out, and that's because I couldn't get a good sense of how it played from the information I had available, but we were able to demo this game, and so I'm really happy to be able to play it more.
This is actually a review copy, so this one was actually provided like there, so excited to like check it out more.
Yes, play it more.
All right, this one. Should we go here?
Why don't we go over to Tequila?
Oh, Tequila, yeah.
Because this was one that was on my list, one that I talked about. Couldn't find out.
Did you check if there was anything in the other box?
Oh, did I check if there was anything in the other box? I did not. Better check. Because who knows? Oh my goodness, there are things.
We'll come back to that. Okay. We've now started with Tequila.
So,
Tequila was on your list.
Yeah. Very don't know much more about it. Aside from that, it's a roll and write about tequila production. So everything from harvesting agave all the way through to distillation to become tequila. What was really cool is we got to meet the designer of this. He is from Jalisco, and he knows a lot about tequila production.
30 minutes away from the town of Tequila, essentially.
And he signed inside this copy. This was a game that I was able to pre-order. So I was really excited about the theme of that one. That is Tequila. This one was one that was put on our radar by Candice of BGG fame, if you know Candice. Check out the BGG podcast if you don't.
Candice
she is amazing and so knowledgeable about games. But the other thing about Candice is if you've listened to her podcast or seen anything else that she's worked on, she's so passionate. And if
it's just contagious.
It is. Well. And if she starts to tell us about a game, it's almost certain that we're going to buy the game. And that's exactly what happened here. So this is a game called Fruitoplay, which talks about itself as being a trick-taking game. It's kind of a blend of... it's kind of like bidding, trick-taking.
Like closest to the number, like that's at hand or at play.
So there's a group of cards that are going to play out across the round, and those are all visible to you. So you can see which card is coming up next, and everybody simultaneously is going to choose a card from their hand to play in each trick, even though it's not really trick. But they're all going to play that. We're all going to play the card, and if it's the same as the suit of the card that's in the center, we're going to look at who's got the closest number to that card. And basically you're trying to collect these cards because similar to the Gap game, what you're going to be doing is collecting majority of colors, and what you want to do is have a large number of one color and few of...
No, this one's a twist, because this one is... So your lowest number, you also want that to be quite high, so that because they multiply.
Oh,
so it's
right,
it's a multiplication
that's
of your lowest times your highest. So if your lowest is only 1...
That's right. So you want everything to be high that you have.
Higher than,
Yes, and it means you don't want to collect a single card of a suit towards the end of the round because then whatever you have is just going to be times by 1.
Yeah.
You also get the opportunity to hold on to cards, and they get added to your tableau at the end, so you can affect your scoring that way. And then there's also these rotten fruit cards that you can put into other tricks that people are going to take on, and they're going to negate points in their tableau. So
very simple,
anyway,
but quite
really
satisfying.
cute little game. I'm excited to play this more. I feel like this is going to be one that like I can play with my mum. And it's going to be really
very
fun.
Easy to play.
Yeah, for the family to enjoy. And it had a little play mat that's rolled up in the box. Why don't you talk about this one?
I've been trying to practice the name Le Roi de Ribauds. I don't know if I did that well, but this is, so apparently that's Old French for something like the King of Assassins. But the translation here they have is the Rogue Monarch. So this is a 2-player only card game, which is based on the IP of I believe it's a comic book, and the artwork is actually really, really beautiful because it's based on that kind of comic book IP. But also, I don't know if you can see, the cards have like a touch of golden foil in them, and it's just a beautiful little accent.
It's just enough, not too much.
Just enough, yeah.
Very classy.
And they're just
very
so
pretty.
Nice, like to hold and to play with. And it's very, very simple. It's one of those like where you're kind of doing a bit of hand management, but also kind of trying to guess. There's a market of not a market, but it's like four cards in the middle, and then you're trying to figure out. Either swap cards with that and try and figure out what those are. To me, that's like 3 different possible winning conditions. One of them is there's a card that's the assassin. So if you manage to have the assassin surrounding one other card, so 2 assassins surrounding one other card, and they're all revealed during your turn, then you win the game. The other one is the king card. So if you manage to have 3 kings revealed on the on that sort of central area, again, you win. And then with the queen is about having 3 queens in your hand at the start of your turn. So that's another one. But all the cards also have their own unique ability. So you can also use them for their ability to mess things up, like look at the other person's hand and steal some cards or eliminate cards if they're queens or different like swap cards around. So fairly simple in terms of the teaching it, but we kind of had a game of it and we're like, this is really intriguing.
It is intriguing. It's a game I definitely want to play more. It's all about manipulating those middle cards in the center. Funny story is we were introduced to this game by Madigo. So this is from their new series of pocket games that kind of button shy-esque. But so they have this whole series of games, one of which was the Russian roulette style game, and then there's this one. But they introduced it to us and this is a review copy. And then we played it, and then we kept thinking of people who would enjoy this game, and we ended up buying 3 copies. I mean, we're our own worst enemies, honestly. I don't even know how this happened. So we started with 1 review copy, now we have 4 copies.
And then like everyone that we were talking about, it's like, oh yeah, I picked up a copy, I picked up a... So
like, and then we started talking about it, because actually it's really beautiful.
It's really beautiful, the cards are really nice.
Obviously, it's a tiny package, and it's just a really clever game, and you can just throw, like, we don't often have, like, tiny games on us. This one I probably would carry around. I'm just intrigued to play it more, and Maggie and I kind of obviously like a very competitive game like this.
Nice.
All right, where else can we go? Okay, so this is a little card game called Faraway. This is another game that was on the edge of making my most anticipated game list. I had read the rule book, and there was one thing that stood out to me that I was like, I feel like Maggie is really going to enjoy this rule. And I believe in this game, when you are taking the initial action prior to playing cards in your tableau, so when you're collecting cards or choosing which card to play, can't remember what it is, there's an element of having a penalty if you're the last person to do so. And one of Maggie's biggest pet peeves with me is my AP. And so Maggie is a much more instinctive. Instinctive, thank you.
Play by instinct.
Wow, it's been a long time since I've slept now. She plays by instinct.
So I'm always like, I should be rewarded for being a faster player.
Fast. And like so I think this game will do that. But then what's interesting about and then I was like, I'm not quite sure if the rest of the game is going to come together. And then I was listening to Rado talk about this game. And the other cool element is the way that you play down your cards, and then you're playing down cards that are going to affect the other cards in your tableau in terms of scoring. Okay. But you play them face down, and at the end of the game, you turn them all face down, and then you're turning them face up, and they're going to trigger in order. But some of them might be like you score for only this type of card, but if they're all face down, it's not going to score those cards. And so you also have to think carefully about the order in which you place them. Haven't played it, excited to try it. Interestingly, the game has many different covers, so the artwork is different, but the game inside is all the same. This game sold out day one of the con, I believe. But we were lucky enough to buy a copy before it did. So that
I feel like that was maybe the first game that we bought that wasn't the pre-order lines. That
no.
Wasn't it?
No. Oh. You were definitely in line at Man Do Games, and I was in line at Saatchi and Saatchi, which we'll talk about right now, because I just found a game. That was fortuitous. So actually, this is a little Oink game, because Oink and Saatchi were sharing a booth, and it was a very popular booth.
It really was.
It really was. And actually, I know that there was a video from the Dice Tower, which is their vlog that they were doing, and they happened to catch me when I was in line, and I was just like waving, because that was the place where I was lined up to get a couple of other games that we'll talk about. But when you spent a certain amount at Saatchi and Saatchi, which of course I did,
easy threshold.
You got a free tote bag, which was really cool.
That was really handy as well, because it's like really good to like put games and stuff while you're walking around.
But you also got a special Spiel 23 version of this game, Order Overload, and this is a cooperative game where you're trying to memorize orders. And I don't know what the original theme was. I imagine it's probably something to do with a restaurant or something. But this one is you work at the booth at Spiel, and you're trying to memorize the game orders that customers are giving you.
Of all the titles that are Oink titles.
Yeah, super cute. But also, they made a Spiel 23 game. Like
that is that is sort of themed on being working at that booth.
I know.
It's actually a combination of, I think it's because this coffee roaster is saying in the back, so I think it's Saatchi and Saatchi and Oink game titles.
It is.
Are
yes.
the mix. That's so cool. That's so cute.
And Itten as well. So the company that makes the small matchstick looking boxes, the really thin boxes. So those three companies came together to create this game, and so it's it's like a souvenir as well. So that's really cool. Anyway, I'm looking forward to trying that out. But let's talk about the White Castle, because this is a game. Okay, here's the thing. Somewhere you've got to draw the line on purchases. And this one was one that was like, at some point we'll get to play this. I'm sure it will have great distribution. We'll be able to pick it up in Australia. Yeah. This was not on the list to pick up at Spiel. However, we do like the Red Cathedral, same designers, and we'd heard that it's, a good dice worker placement game, but still, again, pick it up later.
It's fine. We can play it later.
Then everyone kept coming up to us and saying, have you played the White Castle? We're like, no, we haven't yet. And they were like, it's really good. And again,
FOMO got the most of Amy.
FOMO got the best of me, and then I'm like, what if I can't get it when I go back to Australia? So actually, I'm glad they didn't sell out, because I think it was day 3 or 4 that I went and picked this up, and I'm glad I did. I'm excited to try it. White Castle, there's plenty of content on this game already if you want to learn more. But there's also good use of box space, and that's why people love this series of games, because it packs such a big game in a relatively small box. So happy and excited to try that out.
Nice. So this one...
you're going to have to start putting games on your side.
Yeah, I can put games on my side. I've got some space. Over. So this one, it's called Quicksand. It's by Horrible Guild. So it's one of those real-time cooperative games where you're using sand timers. Kind of similar to the kind of concept of kites, which we really, really like. But in this one, you've got sand timers going on to different... locations, and that's you're kind of moving them along to try and get them all to the end, and so it sort of progresses, sort of like a series of scenarios that get progressively more difficult. So it's kind of like a campaign in a way. We've only really had a chance to play the most basic version of it, and it's that same thing where you're kind of like people are playing cards, and there's sort of varying levels of things that you can or cannot say. So I haven't played enough of it, but that's an interesting one. This is a review copy, so we just kind of got to sort of play, check it out, and then go, okay, we'll have a play more of that. And
I love kites. If you watch the channel, you'll know I love kites. So this was definitely on my radar. I'm excited to play it more. We passed the first challenge, and I think we passed quite well. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what happens.
It was a very simple setup.
I feel like that won't last as it gets harder and harder. The next game is Arborea, and this has been on Maggie's everybody's list of most anticipated
quite
games.
a while.
Actually, I think this was one of your most anticipated games of this year.
Yeah, because it's beautiful. Like, it's just so beautiful. Like, the artwork is beautiful. But also, we actually got to meet Danny Garcia, the
yes, we did.
Yeah, so who's also the designer of Barcelona, which I still haven't been able to play, and that was one of my most anticipated.
Actually, that game, I don't even know if it was how many copies they had. But
it was sold out at
Essen
Spiel as well. So yeah, but Arborea is like, I love the theme. So it's like you're trying to reforest your area, so kind of regenerate your area, so you can bring back animals, so animals can come back and live in your area, but you're sending out your workers on these tracks that are kind of like essentially you're putting them on the tracks, and the longer you leave them there, and then also as other workers go there from other players as well, the tracks move. And as they're progressing, the goods that they're going to get when they do their pilgrimage sort of there and back are going to be better. So the longer you leave it, the better the resources that you're going to get on the way back. And that's what you need to do your reforestation and your regeneration of your...
Yeah, so there's a bit of a Sulk in the Mine calendar vibe in that you're waiting for your workers to come back, but also a come together vibe in that if you place your workers out there, it's more likely that's going to speed up as well, and so it's better to go where other people are. So I'm intrigued by that because I don't like waiting for my workers.
And it looks so beautiful, and it just looks so cool on the table.
Yeah, so what else do we have in here? Anything else?
No, it was pretty tightly packed, so that was all
let's
there
talk
was.
about we've got to speed up. We've got to speed up. So this is Evacuation.
Excuse you.
Another one that I picked up, obviously we've already spoken about going to the Delicious Games booth and buying these ASAP. Evacuation, which I've already heard great things about, is a game where you are starting in one planet and having to evacuate and move to another planet. And in order to do so, you're going to start with a very resource-rich planet, and then you're going to have to transition to depleting that planet of resources and building back up in a new place that has different resources. And that's basically the idea of the game. The story arc of going from being very like resource abundant
to then like struggle to then trying to build things back up on the other end.
Love that as a concept.
Yeah, that's a really cool, different concept.
Apparently the game is really heavy, so I'm interested to try it out. But I want to talk about this game, Little Christmas Tree, because I basically purchased this mostly for the theme. It is from the Taiwan Board Game Group, I think they're called, or Taiwan Board Game Design. That's it. And they
TBD.
Yeah, they had a lot of games that are coming out of Taiwan. They made the game Vegetable Stock, which is a little card game that we love that we picked up in Taiwan.
Very simple, very kind of light. Yeah.
But this Christmas tree game is basically a game where you are playing cards down into a Christmas tree-like structure, and you're drafting cards, and it's set collection. I purchased it because Christmas is coming up, and you know, I need to be on theme.
Apparently, one of the gripes is sometimes you're adding cards to areas that make it not look like a Christmas tree. And then I was trying to do the theme stretch of like maybe it's just growing branches in weird areas, but yeah, that was one of the
with a Christmas tree shape.
Yeah.
This game is one of my favorite finds of the con. It is, and someone actually got us onto this game, and as soon as I heard what it was, I was like, where do I find this game? So this game is Ahoy Kitten, and if you've been watching the channel for a while, I've often spoken about a game called Crossing, which is the most simple game you could think of. It's a great warm-up game. It's basically, you have 5 areas, each with gems on. In Crossing, they're mushrooms, and everyone at the same time goes 1, 2, 3, go, and points to something on the table. If you're the only person pointing at that mushroom, you get to take all the gems. Once you've got gems in front of you, it now becomes an option for people to point at your gems and steal them.
Up for grabs as well.
But you do have the option to cover them instead of pointing at anything else to protect yourself, but then you sit out of the next round, but you get to bank your gems. This is exactly that game, rethemed as pirate kitties, and you're protecting little plastic fish now. Crossing, what's not to like? Crossing is a great game that is very hard to find, and I'm very excited that there is now this version of Ahoy Kitten. I may have purchased a couple of these as gifts for people back home.
While we're there,
Sashi and Sashi. I know, I'm looking at the time, and guess what? We both have to go to work this morning.
Now we're probably both late.
We're probably going to be late, tired and late.
Yeah.
Come Sail Away is the new bigger box game from Sashi and Sashi. Very, very excited to get this to the table. I've heard good things. But yes, this actually sold out during the con, but was one that where I went initially to go and get this game. Oh, and there's two other Asian board games in here. One is a reskin of the game that I was just talking about, which is Vegetable Stock, which is a little, very simple stock market game with vegetables. This is a re-theme of that based on 2023 games. So this is like a special little edition that has all of their 2023 games.
Yeah.
It's like moving right along. And this is a game called Nana Toddy Doddy, which is a card shedding climbing game that I haven't been able to play because I couldn't find it in Japan.
We looked everywhere
in Japan. I think it came out at the game market that we were at, but it had been pre-ordered and sold out.
Yeah.
But this is a reskin of a game called Hachi Train, which is really popular, but now it's bird themed. Excited to try it out. That's all I can tell you.
Even better.
Rats of Wista was a hugely popular game at Essen Spiel.
Yeah.
There were so many demo tables. And
they were always full.
Yeah, and so Maggie had put it on her most anticipated list, but we wanted to try and play it first. We wanted to do the responsible thing and play it first before buying it. We just could not get a table. No matter what we did, we could not get a table to demo this game. And so what happened was every day we tried to demo it and we couldn't. And then it got to, I think, day 3 or day 4, and it sold out.
Yeah,
and
like, uh-oh.
I was distraught. I was like, oh no, not only have we not demoed it, but now we've lost the opportunity to buy it. And I, people were saying it's really good. And so we were standing there and I was thinking, maybe I can ask them if once they're done with the demo copies, if we could buy one of them, that would be amazing. And so I thought I'll try and talk to someone at the booth. And while I was standing there, and Maggie went off to do something else, and I was just standing there waiting and like hoping I could talk to someone. And then someone walked up behind me and introduced himself. I think his name's Michael. And he was involved in the printing of the actual distribution and printing of this game. And, we're talking, and he actually wanted to introduce himself because he'd watched the channel.
Yeah.
And, we were just having this lovely chat. And then he said, have you played the game? I was like, well, I wanted to buy it. Anyway, turns out he had a copy that he had put aside and he gave us his copy.
Yeah.
And that was the single nicest thing that just happened during the con. And
that's really cool.
It was so lovely. So thank you so much, Michael, because now we're able to get it to the table. This is a Euro game that is disguised with very cute art.
Yeah, but apparently it can have some fairly mean sort of interaction, like attacky sort of interaction.
Yeah, but we haven't had a chance to play it.
Haven't had a chance to play it yet. Yeah.
No, but look what's in here. A little card game. Oh, 2 little card games. Oh my goodness, we need to speed up. This is
we really do.
There are more games here than I remember.
And the dog is needing to go out to the restroom. And this is just
and I need
we overcommitted.
Coffee. We have overcommitted. This is Alawa. This is a really interesting game. Bombix have been on a little bit of a roll with Sea Salt and Paper and then Knarr. This is another one that they have called Alawa, and it's a really interesting game that Maggie and I managed to play at Gen Con, which is really about hand management and resource management, and there's this rondel system involved where you are trying to play cards and gain resources.
Yeah. We only really kind of demoed part of it, so we need to play it more, but we played, it's like, this looks intriguing, keen to check it out, so we ended up buying another. Buying it when we could, which was the release at Essen.
This is, so Nokusu Dice is a game that was the hotness at Essen Spiel, probably the #1 most hot game at Essen Spiel. And the reason why is because they only had limited copies, so every day there was a line that wrapped around the
everyone
hall.
would rush to that one.
And they only had minimal copies. You were only allowed to buy 1 copy per person. We were able to pick up a copy for a friend who has wanted it for so long, but also picked up Robo Trick, which is a trick. I don't know much about it aside from that it's a trick-taking game. It's pretty, people really like this game. We weren't able to find it in Japan, but we were.
And this one sold out even faster than
that one sold out too.
Yeah.
What else do we have over here? La Familia Hort.
Hort. So this is by the same people. We haven't actually seen
I know,
that yet.
if we find Rebel Princess.
They did Rebel Princess, which was on our list. But then we purchased Rebel Princess, and then afterwards, like, Rebel Princess was a really, really funny story.
Which we'll talk about when we find it.
But then this one, they ended up giving us this one as a review copy. I don't know much about it. It's not language dependent, even though this is like the Hort family. And their horticulture, it's like, essentially it's all about like growing things and like growing veggies and selling them and watering them and all that sort of stuff, which I really love. So I'm looking forward to playing that, and I really like the artwork.
Maybe it's inside there.
Maybe. No, there's other things inside.
Oh, there's other things inside. These are
just like little
yeah, I just want to talk about this quickly. So these are called Murder Party Pocket, and it's a new range from Cranio, and they gave us these review copies. But what caught my eye is that the designers are Brasini and Gigli, who are two of my favorite designers. And also there's been work done on the game, development done on the game by Simone Luciani. And so I was just like, that's really intriguing.
Check out a pocket game by those people that do like incredibly hard, like big Euros.
Yeah, so it's a murder party mystery game, but it's all contained in here, and then you use an app with it. So just really intrigued to see what that's like. But yeah, don't know too much about it.
Okay,
I want to talk about Taco Kitten Pizza, because of course in every con I have to end up with some kind of copy of Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. This one I didn't even know existed, and it wasn't purchased at Essen Spiel. This was purchased by a Joey fan member, an all-round lovely person, David, who saw this at a game store somewhere in Europe and picked it up for me, and I hoped that I didn't have it, and I didn't. And I believe this is the kind of Kinder version.
Yeah.
So it's like a simplified Taco Kitten Pizza, and there's these like candy cards inside, which is when you need to like slap down to get points. Super cute, funny story. Weirdly, at the con, someone asked me to sign a copy of Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. So Dave Campbell by now not only thinks I'm a stalker, but also I'm signing his game. Bizarre.
Yeah. Very strange.
Bizarre, but I've come to be
take a restraining order to the next level. Yeah. Like, just stop stalking me, stop signing my games. What are you doing? Yeah,
I know. Outrageous. But thank you, David, for this very kind gift. Yes.
All right.
What else
do we have? This is I'm not a fan of sleeves because
they hate game sleeves.
Yeah. So this is Orion Duel. Which is a very abstract sort of two-player game where you're playing. You're kind of placing. It's not really polyomino, but these kind of like hexagonally attached tiles to either connect two ends of this galaxy, and so you win either by connecting two ends of the galaxy with your color, but every piece has both colors. But then there's also other conditions like little black holes or kind of I don't know, some sort of swirl. So it's like some sort of spatial space swirl, let's call it. So it's like you can either kind of trick. Was it galaxies?
Yes.
So you can either get I think it's like 4 galaxies on your path, or kind of put 3 black holes on your opponent's path, and those are other ways of winning.
But your tiles that you have are kind of like the opposite of the other person's tiles, in that they have more of your color on them, and so you're placing you have placement rules about adjacencies, and you're basically trying to meet one of the 3 win conditions. And it's quite good as an abstract game, 2-player only. Probably not going to be able to play it much with Maggie. Going to have to find someone else to play it with, because it's a very abstract game. It's a really interesting one. Okay, I know you're trying to rush me.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I can hear the dog crying, going, "Let me out! We need to go."
So, Newsboys is a roll and write game from Sashi and Sashi, along with Come Sail Away. It's the game that I was lining up for. It is a roll and write game. It's actually an interesting one in that there are central dice that are going to be rolled that every player has access to, but then every player has their own 3 dice as well that they're going to roll and be able to sum that with the collective dice. Then you're going to choose where you're going to place out your X's on the board, and similar to something like Metro X, you are basically trying to race for more points and win conditions. That's based on getting basically these clusters within suburbs that you're delivering newspapers to.
Yeah.
The interesting twist on this game is that you're also, instead of delivering papers, you can go on strike on your turn and cross off elements of this like strike track. And the reason why that's important is because you can only ever strike as much as the money that you're putting away and earning. So you've got to have your wage in balance with the amount that you're striking in order to score the most points at the end of each round. That's basically it. It's a small little twist. It's a fairly simple game. We played this in the airport while we're waiting for our flights. And for me, it's kind of at the same level of Let's Make a Bus Route. So if you're familiar with that game, similar level of game, probably,
lighter,
fairly light, but very cute and very easy breezy. And we need to play it more, obviously.
Yeah. So this one is one that we picked up before Essen. So again, there was another one at the Frankfurt.
Because I knew they were going to be
library.
at Essen Spiel, but I couldn't work out.
Yeah.
I couldn't work out where they were going to be in Essen Spiel, so I decided to pick it up.
I didn't even see it at Essen.
I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Violet and the Grumpiness.
Yes, yeah. And so this is a 2-player trick-taking game. I can't remember anything else about it.
It looks beautiful.
I'm excited about it.
That's all we know.
It's been on my list for a while. Now we've got a few review copies left, so I'll just talk about them quickly. But we have Evergreen, which is a game that we actually haven't played. The designer was also involved in the game Photosynthesis, and it's a kind of similar style game where you're planting trees and trying to achieve objectives. But the reason why we picked up this game is because at Spiel they were actually releasing the new expansion for it.
It's like pines and cacti.
Yeah, it's got cacti in it. And so cacti want to be in the sun, of course. And then there's other trees that I don't know, what was the tree?
There's nothing else in here.
There's nothing else in here. It's jam-packed.
That one was pretty, because I put the expansion in there as well. So now it's like, it's all in the one box.
Finally picked up a copy of Revive.
Yes, we keep hearing that we're going to love it, apparently.
Everybody.
Have you played it? Haven't played it? It's like, no, we haven't yet. So
yeah, everybody keeps telling us to play this game. So we're excited to get stuck into this game. It's been really hard to find in Australia, so very excited that we were provided with this review copy. I'm just going to check that there's a little game in here.
More games!
This is a little Japanese game called Ito. And this game I didn't know much about until Essen Spiel. It was a game by Arclight Games, so when I was buying Nana Toddidoddy, I found Ito as well. Ito is basically the game Wavelength, if you've played that, in card form. So everybody is going to be cooperating together to place the numbered card that they have in order on the table according to a theme. So if it was, I don't know, scariest animals, then everybody would have to nominate an animal that they feel would help the group put their number in order, sequential order. So basically Wavelength, but I like that this comes in a really small box. People love Wavelength, and so I feel like this is going to be a nice party game. One good for my workplace. So that is Ito.
Might be a bit too fun for me, but we'll see.
Nucleum, one of the biggest releases of the con. We're very excited to have a review copy of this. Very excited to get it to the table. Of course, it's by David Turchi and Simone Luciani. It's meant to have strong brass Birmingham vibes.
Barrage
and barragey type vibes. The thing that I'm most excited about is this idea of action tiles that allow you to take an action but you need to discard them in order to also use them to build your routes in the game. Kind of just a clever concept that seems like it would bake in a lot of tension. Well, this box is
fully packed.
No extra games
There's
in there.
No space for anything
no
else.
extra games.
All of the things. Oh my god. And so heavy. Like, this was so heavy.
Sweet Mess, which has been compared to Splendor. So this is like Splendor Plus, but still in that gateway level style game. It has the cool chips that are associated
like
with
poker
Splendor.
chip type. And it's a pastry competition theme, so amazing.
What's not to like? Looking forward to getting that to the table.
I don't think there's anything else in here.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure.
There is.
There's Rebel Princess.
Rebel Princess is in there.
So Rebel Princess is you can talk about the theme because it was your theme description.
It's 5 of like your fairy tale princesses, and all they want is to have 5 days without getting marriage proposals from all these, Prince Charmings. So it's like, just leave us alone. So it's a trick-taking game, and you're trying to essentially avoid the cards that have the Prince Charmings trying to come and propose to you. And then there's also like a frog card that is like a secret 5 surprise proposals in one. So it's just like I love the concept of this game. I love the artwork of it. So yeah, really, really keen to play it.
Now, let me talk about...
We may have created a bit of an issue for
Yes.
it.
So we talked about this. Maggie had it in her most anticipated games, and from there, you know, it kind of got a little bit of hype around it. Zombie Paella, the publisher, when we went to pick up our copy because we had just pre-ordered it, they said to us, they recognized us, but then they also said lots of people have been buying it because of what you said about the game, which was, you know, lovely.
That's
to
really
hear.
cool.
And they were very grateful, and they're a small publisher, so it was really nice that they could have that. But then what happened is we left, and a friend wanted to go and have the designer sign their cards, and so we went back to the booth, and we happened to be at the booth, I think it was on the Saturday, when they had sold out of Rebel Princess, but then the designer had brought in some more copies. They had 1 copy left, and they decided to raffle off the copy to everybody in line. And when we got there, the publisher came over and said, "You did this.
This is your fault. This
is your fault."
It's chaos, but it's a good chaos. So it was like high demand to like add your name to the raffle to maybe be able to purchase that last copy.
And lots of people in line were like,
we're here because of
you. And so I want to say something for the record. In our most anticipated list, we have not played the game.
Not played them. We're just basing them on the same amount of information that you can access and that everyone can access.
Exactly. So just please always take it with a grain of salt.
Big disclaimer. Yeah.
But we were excited about the theme. I feel like other people were too. And we haven't had a chance to get this to the table yet, but excited to. That is Rebel Prince trick-taking game.
There's nothing else in it?
Nothing else in it. And there are 2 big box games left. I'll talk about...
Well, I'll talk about this.
You can talk about this.
I'll talk about this because the Final Girl, which is obviously a solo, I hadn't gone into the Final Girl universe, which is all like about kind of like those horror movie type things, and you have the Final Girl, who's usually like the heroine who's going to be taking down whatever the monster or the killer on the loose or whatever it is. And I was like, before I was like, even though I love solo, it's like I just don't like horror themes and like the violence kind of thing, and so that's always been what's kept me like out of this universe. But then when we were there, I'm like, let me actually just try it and demo it so that I can kind of know how the system itself actually works. And then I was saying, oh look, I've usually kind of stayed away from it because of these things. And so they said, look, happy to give you these 2 as review copies, because these themes, like one of them, so I've got Final Girl Once Upon a Full Moon, so it's more of like a what do you call it, Little Red Riding Hood, so it's a little bit more like wolf, Big Bad Wolf fantasy space. And then this one was Dr. Fright. What is it, Dr. Fright on, what's it called? But it's essentially like a Freddy Krueger Frightmare on Maple Lane. So it's like a Freddy Krueger style, they're the monsters coming to get you in your dreams type thing. So I'm like, okay, well these are probably a bit more kind of on the fantasy realm. So yeah, happy to try them. I was checking out had a quick demo of the mechanics of it, and it seemed intriguing. So I thought, all right, well, I'll try them. And then the final one
is a review copy of a game that was on, which was crowdfunded by Cranio Games, called Anunnaki.
Dawn of the Gods.
And we were kind of like unsure about the theme, but we were talking to the publisher, and they were talking about how obviously one of the designers is Simone Luciani, and so it's very Euro-esque.
Yeah.
And so that had us thinking, okay, this combination of Forex style with Euro in a 90-minute game. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, we're going to check that out and hopefully give you a full review of that.
This feels like it's got a bit of box lift.
It wasn't the last game.
Last lucky bonus round.
Art Society. Maybe there's a game inside this.
Maybe.
You don't know.
No, that was from memory. That was pretty tightly packed.
Art Society was a huge hit at the convention by Mighty Boards. They had lots of demo tables. It's sold out. It is a beautiful game where you are bidding using these little paddles, just like you would at an art auction. You're using the paddles to bid on the different pieces of art, and then you're taking the pieces of art and you're placing them down into your
your wall, essentially, your
you're putting
board.
them onto your wall.
Yeah.
And there are adjacency rules. You're going to get bonuses for putting like colors together, I think.
So no, it's like
styles.
frames together, but then you can't really put like there's things that can create a
styles.
faux pas so there's you can't put the same type, the same style next to each other. It's just the frames can create
so intrigued to try this one out. I actually think that there's no games in here because this game has a really cool insert in it. So here are all the boards, but I really liked the insert that is meant to hold these neatly, all of these different pieces of art.
Transit.
So maybe functionally, I don't know. But this is,
they've been kind of going upside down in luggage.
They have. But it's kind of furry.
Yeah, it's like felt.
I just like that. It's like felty.
Really cool.
Anyway, that's all. Okay, we better wrap it up so we can get to work. But just wanted to say again, thank you to everybody who came to say hello to us, publishers, designers, viewers, other content creators. We had such a wonderful
great time.
Vacation and then a wonderful time at Essen Spiel. And we're looking forward to seeing all of you somewhere else in the world. What was your favorite thing that you picked up at Essen Spiel? Let us know in the comments below. Or if you weren't there, let us know what you're excited to hear us talk about.
Yes.
But please like this video if you enjoyed our long, rambling, sleepless,
and my anxious. I need to get back to the dog, and we need to get to work.
Yes, so much anxiety coming from this direction.
Sorry.
Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll be back with more board game content soon. But otherwise, bye for now.
Bye.